Good morning. So, some of my YouTube viewers have actually asked me to comment and give my take on this new Me Too thing and this Babe.net story about an actor named Aziz Ansari. Now, look, I'm going to be very honest with you. I never heard of the dude. Never heard of him until his name was shit all over on Babe.net by a woman named Grace. Not her real name, of course. And there's a couple interesting things about this whole story. First of all, the story didn't come out until after Mr. Azari won a Golden Globe a few weeks ago. And I find that interesting because this incident occurred months before. And unlike some of these other incidents we've heard about, this was basically the story of a bad date. Okay? First of all, this was not by any stretch of the imagination sexual harassment. Mr. Ansari, again, I'm sorry, I really don't know the guy. Mr. Ansari was not this woman's boss. He did not threaten her with being fired or tell her if she didn't do exactly what he said, he would give her a job. That was not part of it. So, since you asked, I'm going to give you my opinion. First, we have to tell you what this was all about. There is a website called Babe.net where basically women can go and accuse men, usually famous men, of sexual harassment and join the Me Too movement. According to Grace, what happened was Mr. Ansari took her out for dinner and then invited her back to his hotel or to his apartment after dinner. Now, ladies, I'm sorry, I've got to go with the men on this one. Dude invites you back to his apartment. Guess what he wants? He wants to fuck you. And if in 2018 adult women don't get that, then your parents did you a big wrong. Didn't train you right. Because every woman knows. I knew it when I was 19 years old. Guy invites you back to his house. He doesn't want to show you the view from his windows. He doesn't want to show you his artwork, his sketchings. He wants to fuck you. And if you willingly go back to his apartment, he basically thinks that you want the same thing. Just in case some of you stupid girls out there think that he's just inviting you back to make you coffee and maybe watch Terms of Endearment. No. He wants to fuck you. So remember that, ladies. It's a lesson learned. So Grace says, sure, I'll go back to your apartment with you. And by the way, when they get back to the apartment, they start undressing consensually. She takes her clothes off. He takes his clothes off. Here's where it went wrong. He was bad in bed. She didn't like what he was doing. She told him, I don't like that. So he tried something else. No, I don't like that either. And finally, she just said, no, I don't like any of this. And he said, okay, fine. They put their clothes back on. They went to his living room. They sat on the sofa and they watched television for a couple hours together. And then he got her a cab and she went home. Now, here's where it all goes crazy, is she said she cried all the way home. She was so traumatized. What? Really? She was traumatized because he was bad in bed. She watched TV with him for 2 or 3 hours, and now she's traumatized. And somehow now she's part of the Me Too movement, and he's a monster. He's one of the harassers. He's one of the bad boys. Really? Because of a bad date? I mean, ladies, come on. Come on, please. Come on. We all know how men roll, right? And I'm going to go feminist here on you. Most men are selfish in bed. They don't care about if you get off. They just want to make sure they get theirs. Come on, we all know that. Maybe I'll get some female viewers from this show. Men are selfish in bed. And if you ask my husband, I'm selfish in bed because I want to get mine. I know, TMI, but seriously. There are a lot of men out there who don't care if a woman has an orgasm. as long as they do. That doesn't mean that they are some kind of a criminal, that they are some kind of a sexual harasser or a predator or an evil person or a rapist, simply because they're bad in bed. There's a lot of guys out there that are bad in bed. Darling, I'm 53 years old. I've been around the block a few times. A lot of men are bad in bed, but it doesn't mean you write a blog about them, call them out on babe.net, and try to ruin their career and say that somehow that traumatized you. I want to tell you something. If I were traumatized by every guy that I consensually had sex with and was bad in bed, I'd be in a mental institution right now. That is ridiculous. The guy buys you dinner. You're in the car. He says, "Do you want to come back to my apartment?" You have the choice right there, yes or no. She said yes. They get to his apartment. He said, "Want to go in the bedroom?" She said yes. "Want to take your clothes off?" She said yes. And only when she realized that he was lousy in bed, she said, no, let's stop. Okay, well, let's put our clothes back on and go watch some TV. And she went home crying? Why? At least she got a good dinner out of it. Some men don't even do that. Please. This is where the Me Too movement is going wrong. And look, I know a lot of you have been really punishing me for defending Meryl Streep. And look, again, I'm going to just say, as your host and you're my viewers, let's put Meryl Streep behind us and never speak of her again. As I said before, I don't know her. The only thing that I used Meryl Streep for was that, again, women shouldn't be jumping on a bandwagon and saying something happened to them if it didn't. Even if everybody else around them says, this guy was rude to me, did something to me, if they didn't do it to you, don't say they did just to join your sisters. That's all I use Meryl Streep for. Okay? But I am going to mention somebody named Ashley Banfield, and she is a reporter, and you are not going to talk me down on Ashley. She was awesome. I have followed her since she reported on 9/11. And she was on Megyn Kelly last week, and she has called out this Grace woman and said, you know, Ashley Banfield agrees with the Me Too movement to a point. But she said when we get to the point where someone like Grace gets to write a published article and call out an actor in Hollywood after he wins a Golden Globe Award for basically a non-actionable act. I mean, she's a lawyer. So she said there is no crime here. There is no assault. There's no harassment. Babe.net had no business even publicizing that and putting this actor's name in the public eye. And this is where my problem is with the Me Too movement. Is, again, we're not hearing about Joe the plumber who comes to a woman's house when she's alone, her husband's at work, and brushes against her breast while she's signing the bill. We're not hearing about Johnny, the cable guy, who comes into the house and starts making like some weird comments or looking a little bit too far down instead of in the eyes of the housewife that's home alone. These women are calling out wealthy actors, popular actors, actors whose reputations mean something to them. And at some point, we have to ask ourselves, and I know all the dudes love me right now and all the women hate me, and I get it. But I've defended you women a lot. But these accusations seem to be being made against people like Michael Douglas, like Dustin Hoffman, and they're all old accusations. And then this dude, this Aziz Ansari, wins a Golden Globe, and all of a sudden, this woman comes out of the woodwork. Well, 3 months ago, he was really bad in bed. What? Why? What do you plan on getting for that? Now, we all heard the story, and this is a good story, to be honest with you, but I also wonder if it's not also kind of fueling the Me Too movement. is all these years where female actresses have felt that they have been underpaid and underrespected, where female directors don't think they're getting their due, their award nominations. And I wonder if some of this is in payback. And let me take you to All the Money in the World, that movie where Kevin Spacey was tossed off because he was sexually assaulting little boys. And they had to redo some of the scenes. And what happened was Mark Wahlberg got $1.5 million, and his female co-star, Michelle Williams, got $1,000. Of course, that's not cool. But here's the other thing that people don't get. If somebody asks me what movies has Michelle Williams been in, I can't name any of them. You ask me what movies Mark Wahlberg has been in, I can almost name all of them. Mark Wahlberg is more famous and more bankable and more recognized than Michelle Williams. Now, the discrepancy between the two incomes is completely off. It is. But in Hollywood, having a penis doesn't necessarily mean you get top billing. Try to star in a movie with Angelina Jolie as a guy. She gets top billing. You know why? Because she's going to sell the movie, and you're not. Mark Wahlberg right now is the only big name recognizable star, unless you were a Sound of Music fan, Christopher Plummer's in it, who's in this movie. And yes, because he is recognizable, not because he has a penis, but because he's recognizable, and his name, people will go see this movie because Mark Wahlberg is in it. He gets the bucks. He gets the money. It's like commission. When you're in sales, you sell the most product, you get more money than the person who doesn't sell as much product. Certain Hollywood names sell movies. People buy the DVDs, they go to the theater, which is almost nobody goes to the theater anymore. Mark Wahlberg gets people in the movie theater. So he gets more money. And to Mark Wahlberg's credit, and if y'all hate Mark Wahlberg, please put your thumbs away. I'm just saying, the dude said he's going to donate the $1 million to legal aid for poor sexually harassed people who can't afford lawyers and don't want to take $1 million paydays to shut up. They want actual justice. So good for Mark Wahlberg. You know, don't punish Mark Wahlberg because he's bankable. It's called a bankable actor. Michelle Williams is great. Again, I don't know her. I don't follow her movies. I wouldn't go watch a movie because Michelle Williams is in it. I would be much more likely to go watch a movie if Mark Wahlberg was in it. That's probably why he got more money. Wonder how much Christopher Plummer got. I actually, because I like older men, I think he's hot. I like Christopher Plummer. But anywho, at the end of the day, I wonder if some of this Me Too crap, especially in Hollywood, isn't just payback for what many actresses have seen as not getting their fair share of that pie. And the saddest part for me, and I said it last week, is that some of these actresses that are coming up with Me Too, Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman, they make good money. And even if they make less than a male co-star makes, they're still making pretty damn good money. When people like me look at people like them and see that they make, I don't know, $50 million, $30 million a year, Jesus, God, I wouldn't know what to do with that kind of money. And they're bitching. And I'm going to be really honest with you, and this is going to make me sound really harsh and really horrible to my female viewers, but I'm not sure sucking some guy's dick when I was 16 years old, and now 30 years later, I'm making $50 million a year. I'm not sure that's a bad trade-off, to be honest with you. That's a lot of freaking money, and it's a lot of independence. These women who have so much money and so much power on their own right, claiming to be withering little vines and victims. Well, as I said last week, the people that I stand up for, the women I stand up for, are the waitresses, the secretaries, the women married to police officers who beat them every single day, who have broken their jaw, cracked their eyes open. Those are the women that I have stood up for my career. I wrote a blog, Abuse Behind the Badge. Abuse Behind the Badge. It's a book. You can buy it by Rosa Torres. And her police officer husband beat the crap out of her and even abused her children, according to the book. And I did several series of blogs on her story. I spoke to her in person. And then I even went, because I am fair, I went to her ex-husband, because I know who he is. And I called him and said, would you like to comment on the story that I'm doing? Because I would like to tell your side. See, Political Paula is fair. And he said because of legal issues, he couldn't comment. And I said, well, if you ever decide to tell your story, I will do your story too. See, Political Paula, I will defend women, but I will also defend men. I will defend injustice wherever it goes. So for women who are saying, you're not a real woman, yeah, I am a woman. But when I do this show, I don't do this show as a woman. I do this show as an advocate for truth, an advocate for justice. And I am just as willing to tell Rosa Torres' story about her abuse at the hands of her ex-husband as I am to tell the story about the young man whose life was destroyed by a classmate in high school who accused him of rape. And he spent 5 years in jail. I will defend that young man as much as I will defend a woman who was abused by her husband on a daily basis for many years, and he gets away with it. I will invite you, especially my YouTube viewers, because a lot of you are new to my show. And this is going to be the last show I do on this topic unless there's really breaking news. But I do notice that you're watching some of my other shows as well, and I hope you're enjoying them. And I'm going to invite you, just like I do my Facebook family, because you're my family now, my YouTube viewers, to share your stories with me. If you have a story you want told and I can verify it, I will tell it. I will be happy to speak with you. I will not give out my phone number, but you can contact me on Twitter. My handle is @PoliticalPaula. You can come to Facebook. You don't have to be my friend. You can PM me on Facebook, or you can send me an email at paulaluciano, Luciano 192 @gmail.com. I'm new with Gmail, but I promise you, I will end up figuring it out, and I'll get your story out if you want it told. I never review my sources. If you don't want your name told, I will not tell your name. But if you are going to tell me a story and you want me to tell your story, and it is something that happened in real time and was in the news, I will need verification of that. I don't report rumors. But if it's something that happened to you, I'll trust you, and I'll believe you, and I'll report it. Because again, this is my show. It's got my name on it, my face on it, and I will tell your stories. Many viewers on Facebook have given me amazing stories to tell, and I've enjoyed telling them. As for the Me Too movement, I think eventually it's going to calm down because there are too many women now that are taking advantage of it, which is very sad. And as a woman, I say that I'm very sad because once again, every real abuse victim, every real victim of sexual harassment, the waitress, the secretary, who can't afford to say Me Too, can't afford to lose her job and have her children starve. They're being lost in all this brouhaha with the Michael Douglas and the Dustin Hoffman, and now this Aziz Ansari, who again I didn't even hear of until he won a Golden Globe. It seems that there's a target on famous, wealthy men's backs. And now, good old average everybody men are scared. As I said before, if I was a mother who had a son, I would be worried. I would be teaching my sons different. And I only wish that parents of young girls who are going to become women will also instruct them. You don't go to job interviews in hotel rooms. If you go out on a date and the guy asks you back to his apartment, he wants to have sex with you. Understand what you're doing. I think it is foolish for anyone to honestly believe that when Mr. Ansari invited this woman back to his apartment, that she didn't know exactly what he wanted. And she did it willingly. She went to his apartment. And I also believe, from hearing from Mr. Ansari, saying he was shocked at these allegations, that if she had just said, no, you know what, I'm tired, I'm going to go home, just take me home, he would have done that. But she went back to his apartment. Willingly. She willingly took off her clothes. And right there, my friends, I don't care what some feminists say, what some people say, that is consent. You walk into a man's bedroom and take your clothes off, you're saying yes. And let's remember this for Mr. Ansari. Again, I don't know him, not a fan, never saw his movies. But when she said no, he tried something else. She said no again. He said, okay, you know what? Let's just go watch some TV. He said, okay. But then cried all the way home. I guess I should ask myself, was she crying because she thought she had scored a really cool up-and-coming actor who had lots of money and was going to take care of her? Is that why she cried? Because she didn't like what he did in bed, so it wasn't going to work out for her? And because she didn't use her real name, God help the next actor, the next up-and-coming actor she decides to go out to dinner with. Sorry, Grace, you don't pass the smell test for me too. That's it for me today. I'll see you all back here tomorrow where I'm going to start a special series, very personal to me, and hopefully very informative for all of you. Have a great day. Political Paula is out.